We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button because a supportive community is a strong community. Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Yovanoff. Today we are heading to La Belle Province, Quebec, Canada, specifically Montreal, and we are going to talk about the theater scene in Montreal and Canadian musicals and all the fun stuff that is going on there. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the artistic and executive director of the Seagal Center for the Performing Arts, Lisa Rubin. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to talk musicals in Canada.
I know. That's the thing. I want to get more Canadians on the show to talk about what we're doing, because I don't think we get enough recognition or exposure for the shows that we put on. So I'm glad you're going to be talking about some of the stuff that you've done. So
Thank you. Do my best.
No problem. Well, I start every show the same way. I want to hear Lisa's 30-second bio. Who is Lisa in 30 seconds?
I am a musical theater lover, who grew up singing and dancing and performing. I think I'm one of those stories that all musical theater lovers can relate to. It's kind of, once it's in your life, it never leaves. Mm-hmm. And found my way to the Sadie Bronfman Center, which is now the Seagal Center, as a Montrealer. And, just wanted to be connected to theater. So even if I wasn't performing, I just had to do something in the building, whether it was supporting their fundraising, whatever I could do, I did, including working as an assistant to the former artistic director and then assistant to the CEO, and somehow found my way into this artistic and administrative position, which I hope I don't take for granted every single day. And I recognize that privilege and that awesomeness. And it has led me to some pretty incredible things. Most of what I'm proud of is really, I think, the new musicals and just keeping musical theater alive in Montreal at the level that we do.
Very nice. Very nice. A little more than 30 seconds, but that's okay. I'm not going to complain about that.
I thought I was close.
And it was pretty close. It was like 36 and a half, but
okay.
No worries. I will let it slide. So like you said, you have been involved and love musicals for a long time. Is that a family thing, or are you the anomaly within the family, the lover of musicals?
No, my dad, I'm going to reveal my age here, but my dad drove a Monte Carlo and had an 8-track in his car.
Nice.
And he didn't have very many, but one of them was a chorus line. Mm-hmm. And by the time I was 6 years old, I knew every single song. And here is a very fun fact, that I auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club with tits and ass. And yes, I did. So nice. Yeah, it did. And my mom has always loved theater and drama. And I have a couple of incredible artists in my family, one of them being the late Joseph Wiseman, who was the original Dr. No. But he was most proud of his theater work, of playing great roles in Shakespeare, and he just, what an incredible man. He's was my dad's first cousin, married to Pearl Lang, the late great Pearl Lang, who was Martha Graham's prodigy. Wow. So I had these role models in Joe and Pearl, for dance and theater and the discipline and the work ethic that it requires to be good at your craft.
Wow. So it's in the DNA and it's...
I like to think so, but
That's fantastic. That's incredible. I am very curious about that Disney song choice, but did it work? Did you get on the show?
I had no guidance. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't, I didn't get into, that hardcore training until I was in my teens,
Mhm.
but I was obsessed with the Mickey Mouse Club, and I knew I was and like a lot of kids, when you listen to content that may not be appropriate, I think those times it just kind of goes over your head.
Yes.
um I did. I had a phenomenal audition experience,
Mhm.
actually. And at that time, Max Casella, who was the casting director, I was just on the cusp of being too old.
Oh,
I was like, they were taking in Britney and Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears
yeah.
and Justin Timberlake, who are like a few years behind me. So I, I don't know, but I think I just, hopefully it was memorable and I felt good about it. And I'm just glad I did it.
Nice. I have that experience, the same experience, not the Disney singing part, but the song, the lyrics going over the head, like One Night in Bangkok. Once I got a little bit older, then I started understanding some of the lyrics, like, oh, that's what that means. Okay. But at the time, I'm like, I just love this song. It's just a
Uh,
great song.
Totally.
So did you go to school for musical theater or theater in general?
Um, I did. I did. I was I was very into dance. So I had a lot of dance training. I studied at Interlochen in Michigan as a dance major.
Mhm.
And then once I discovered that I really wanted to focus on musical theater and needed the acting and the singing, I spent 3 summers at Stage Door Manor,
Mm.
the kind of, the theater camp. Um, musical theater camp, and that really was a kick in the ass of the competition and the training required.
Yeah.
And then right out of there, um, I was doing a play at McGill, and the music director, it was Little Shop of Horrors, and the music director at McGill suggested I try out for the Charlottetown Festival.
Mm.
And I'd never heard of it before. And I just went to Toronto and auditioned for the Charlottetown Festival and got it. And
Wow.
so I was like 17 years old, and then I spent 3 years, 3 summers in the Charlottetown Festival, which I think was second level training, was in the real world.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of hard lessons at that, again, uh, the most incredible experience, but that was life experience working in musical theater professionally. But I never stopped taking private lessons, vocal lessons, and yeah.
Yeah, 3 years at Charlottetown would be fantastic. Just the experience of that and being on the island, during
Oh
the
yeah,
summer and that.
so
Uh, I
beautiful.
know. I gotta head back. I haven't been to the PEI in so long, but
Mm.
yeah, it's gorgeous. But
Yeah, because going back as an artistic director was amazing. It
wow,
was just amazing. Seeing it through different eyes, and
for
and
sure.
then taking my family there. It was wonderful.
Nice, very cool. So you did the Charlottetown, you were at McGill and all that stuff. When did you ever, are you still performing, or was there a transition point where you got more into the offstage stuff?
I performed really, I think, up until I got this job.
Okay.
I was working in the office as an employee, not as a volunteer,
Mhm.
while doing Guys and Dolls, while doing Lies My Father Told Me, which was in both of them two musicals at the Seagal Center. And then when this happened, I guess there was a part of me that knew that I was going to have to work really hard to prove myself, and to be all in this role. And it wasn't the time for me to put myself on stage. So that was a loss that I had to mourn, actually. I've sung a couple of times in concerts, but I can count them on one hand. It's
Yeah.
it's not it's not something I regularly do. And if anything, the pandemic has been a little bit of a gift in that way, because of all the time I'm spending at home. You know, uh, I'm singing at the piano with my husband because he plays.
Mhm.
And I may be dancing in my basement. There's some pretty incredible online classes. Like I've taken um, ballet with Tyler Peck quite often. So getting back into dance and singing that's truly for myself,
Mm,
um, has been wonderful, and a little bit of a reminder of kind of what I've lost,
yeah.
what I've had to kind of put away.
Yep.
But I'd rather have it in my life. So yeah, that's it. Maybe one day I'll get back to the stage, but it's the privilege I have to make sure other people have that opportunity now, and I can help them. If I can help them grow into that, and you know,
Yeah.
so that's where it is.
I totally understand I transitioned off of stage and I've been doing pretty much everything off the stage now, but there's always that little tickle in the back, right? Where you know what, I could still do it if I wanted to, and I will, but because my girlfriend's never seen me, my kids have never seen me on stage, so they're all like, when are you gonna do it? And you're like, you just never know, right? So I
That's really
totally get
great
it.
to hear that your kids feel that way. Mine want to like crawl under a couch and hide if I just when I start singing or dancing. Mommy, stop,
No,
cringy.
my kids have been, they don't do any theater, but they go to it, and they're the most critical people. I can tell they're mine just from that. They'll go to a show and go, okay, this didn't work, that didn't work, this is good, but that didn't. I'm like, yeah, okay. Shh, don't say
Wow,
that out
amazing.
loud, but we'll talk about it afterwards.
That's great that they
So
can
that's
do
fun.
that.
So you're what drew you to the Seagal Center to work there, and how did you move up to the artistic and executive director position?
Well, you know, I'm a Jewish Anglophone,
Mhm.
and you know, again, during this pandemic, we talk a lot about inclusion and belonging and identity and making sure spaces, there's a welcome feeling for all. But as a Jewish Anglophone, in Montreal,
Mhm.
the safest place I felt was at the Segal Center, was at the Sadie Brofman Center, because it's rooted in the Jewish community. And what got me there actually was after 3 years in PEI, I felt very disconnected from the Jewish community. Like I had never, which I had never experienced before because I grew up in Montreal. And then even if I was in Toronto, wherever I was, I felt that around me.
Yeah.
But that all that time in PEI, there was nothing. So I was very interested in kind of rediscovering that. And I saw an ad at McGill for the Yiddish theater,
Mhm.
again, which had been around in Montreal for years, but something I had never even considered being a part of. And I was like, hey, I'm going to try it. I'm here. I'm in university. I'm not in a conservatory program. I'm studying humanities. I'm studying anthropology and philosophy and art history. And, I need to keep this up. So why not audition for Yiddish theater? And that is what brought me to my first experience at the Segal Center.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about the Seagal Center and what it is and its history and yeah, because a lot of people probably don't know about it. I can't remember if I knew about it or not, but let's just assume I didn't. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the Sadie Brofman Center was built, 50 years ago. We have a very special building designed by Phyllis Lambert. It's like a big glass box,
Hmm.
and it originated as a visual arts center. And then, a little bit of theater here and there. The Yiddish theater, the Dora Wasserman Yiddish theater, is a 67-year-old legacy in the Montreal community. It's one of only two Yiddish theaters that exist in North America.
Hmm.
And as the Sadie Brofman Center was kind of on its last legs, an incredible man named Mr. Alvin Segal who had an affinity for the Yiddish theater, came to the rescue and said, um, I want to ensure that the legacy of the Yiddish theater will continue. And in order to do that, we're going to support and build a robust English theater around it, and reinvested in our building, in the business model, and together with Brian Wasserman, who's one of the former artistic and executive directors, um, really reshaped the model. And in 2007, we became the Seagal Center, and with a focus only on performing arts. When I came in, I kind of even I focused even more than that. We were doing music and we were doing dance. We were doing cinema in addition to theater. And I saw a very big opportunity to be laser focused on the theater practice, as well as the community support because we do have a Jewish mandate as well. That is that we explore and we celebrate our Jewish identity through the arts, in all of its ways, from celebrating the past and really leaning into those social issues that we face as Jews in the future, as well as sharing our Jewish heritage with the greater non-Jewish community. But all that is really English theater in a French city is our main focus and has been the main focus.
Nice. And so how long have you been with the company again?
My first play as an actor was in 2000.
Okay.
So we're talking 21 years now, involved with them.
Yeah.
And then around, I'm just trying to think, and I kept doing plays with them for a while. And then it was after I had my kids that I was offered a job in the office that I took. I was like, yes, I think that was around 2009.
Okay.
And then I spent quite a few years working in the office. Um, and, before I just had this kind of working girl fairy tale story that propelled me into this role. Like it's not a secret. Like I think there are, people from all over the country or others in the industry are like, who is this person that just got this job of a lifetime? And that's true. And that's true. And that's why I had to work so hard. But um, and I think, my love for the Seagal Center, my knowledge of the community, and my love of the arts and theater, and the vision that I had was enough to convince the board of directors that despite my lack of experience, that I could do this.
Yeah.
And I think when you have kids, fear takes on a different meaning. I don't know if I would have said yes, or if I would have applied or jumped into this not having my kids, but
Yeah.
they gave me such courage to say, I got to do this. I can do anything for them.
Yep.
That that's it. It's a real fairy tale story that definitely had some obstacles that I needed to overcome in those first couple of years, but better for it now.
Nice. Yeah. Everything in comparison to raising kids is easier. Like this, kids are, they're different every time. Every day, think you know your kid, and then they do something and you're like, oh, that never, either in a good or bad way.
Mm-hmm.
But you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's always a new experience. So yeah, any job is so much easier. And you can build off the experience of the kids. But
And
you also had all those other little parts, you were every part created the whole, right? So
true.
that was great. Nice. So let's talk about some of the new works that the Segal Center has worked on, because I was been to the website, and you pioneered the apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz, which I play, as well as the English version of Les Belles Sœurs, which I think I played the French version, but I play that on the station as well. And Mythic was supposed to come to Toronto, which I had tickets for, and that, well, as we all know, what happened to theater. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the creation of new works and helping promote these new works.
It's so exciting when we do it. Um, as an artistic director and as a theater lover, what you quickly learn is when you're exposed to something good,
Mhm.
you get very excited. So, um, you know, with Duddy Kravitz, we were actually contemplating remounting a Yiddish version of Duddy Kravitz
Really?
because it had been a huge hit for the Yiddish theater. The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz. There was a Yiddish musical, and it was my first year in my role, and I had heard that there was an Alan Menken, David Spencer version of Duddy Kravitz out there. And so why not see if we could do that version? Because the other version, because there were several versions of Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz, the musical,
Oh,
amazingly,
really?
written. Yes. Now there's only one. Now there's only one.
Okay.
Um, and I met David Spencer, and I heard the music, and then it was like, we need to do this in English, not Yiddish. We'll find something else for Yiddish, and we did, but
Yeah.
but you know that it was just. I mean, we had David Spencer, Alan Menken, um, Austin Pendleton, Jonathan Monroe. A lot of men. I'm saying that now, but wonderful men
Yeah.
who um, and and this incredible cast. It was just like, it was amazing. It was amazing for everyone. It was also the first time that I saw that when you bring in special guests like Austin and Alan,
Yeah.
who work with your all Canadian cast, it elevates everyone.
For sure.
And I can talk about, we did that again with Mythic, but it makes the experience so much richer because everyone is so invested. And Austin would in between rehearsals would tell us stories of the original production of Fiddler on the Roof. And I mean, we have this Broadway cafe, which is kind of a live karaoke night for the musical theater community here.
Mhm.
And Austin, like, we were done rehearsal and it was late, and we all kind of went over to check out what was happening in the other room, this Broadway cafe. And Austin got up there and sang Miracle of Miracles. And I remember standing with George Maswell, who was in the cast at the time, a great Canadian actor who's in the company of Come From Away,
Mhm.
and standing there with him, and we looked at each other and we're like, we understood what was happening. That, like, the original Matilda Taylor right now,
Yeah.
we were witnessing singing Miracle of Miracles. And it was special. It was a special piece and a special production, and it was also this like big love story for Montreal. And to this day really remains our greatest hit, if you're going to say in terms of ticket sales and extensions and everything. There was nothing like what happened with Duddy Kravitz. And then Belle Sœur, the musical, also. I mean, what you play is very different than what we have. And one day there'll be a Canadian recording because Neil Bartram and Brian Hill were inspired by the French version, but it's different.
Oh.
It's different and wonderful. And that production went on a Canadian tour. So we kind of upped, like, Duddy Kravitz happened, and out of that came a cast recording. Belle Sœur happened, and out of that came a Canadian tour. And Belle Sœur is, pre-pandemic, is being worked on for New York.
Wow.
And already had a workshop there. that I attended with Kiala Settle in the lead role. That was pretty special. That was pretty special. Um, yeah. And then came Prom Queen, which is, now known as The Louder We Get, which
Okay.
is the musical based on the true story of Mark Hall, who in 2002 fought to take his boyfriend to the prom.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it was just so good. It was so good. And then that just happened in Alberta at Theatre Calgary. And where it's going to go next, who knows? But again, one of the highlights for everybody who worked on it. It was just so very special.
Yeah. And then I see you did the Hockey Sweater, the musical, which if you're a Canadian, you know that story and you've seen that short video, I don't know how many times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about that, how that got turned into a musical as well.
The Hockey Sweater was a result of good timing on behalf of the playwright Emile Schur, who had walked into my office with this idea to do the Hockey Sweater, the musical, at the same time that we were talking about Montreal's 375th anniversary. And there was a huge call for like legacy projects. And so we ended up submitting a grant to build this musical, and got it. And so there was a major investment from Montreal 375, and then we brought on Jonathan Monroe and Jonathan Monroe and Emile, wrote this wonderful musical, and then you had Donna Fior who directed and choreographed it.
Mhm.
So talk about wow and performance value.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think anybody, I'll never forget, I had a team from Place des Arts come, and they were like, they were looking at me, they're like, we didn't expect it to be that good, like that, not like that good.
Yeah.
You could see my facial expressions. They thought it would be good, but that good, like, oh my god, like I want to give a standing ovation in the middle of
Yeah.
a show to the 8-minute dance break that the kids just did. And then, we were the very first investment from the Creation Fund from the National Arts Center. And that took us to the Hockey Sweater 2.0,
Mm.
which we did in Ottawa, with new projections, larger set design,
Wow.
built more for a proscenium stage, unlike our soft thrust.
Mhm.
And it was so good. It was so good. And I just know it's not the end for the Hockey Sweater. I see it happening in French one day.
Nice.
And yeah.
See, and there's so many shows, that Canadian musicals, that nobody knows about, unfortunately, outside of, you know, the bubble of where it got produced and where it was able to reach out to. Because I'd heard about the Hockey Sweater musical, I just didn't know a lot about it at that point. And I'm learning all about, like, talk about Mythic, for example. I knew it was coming, I was excited coming, I don't know a lot about it except what I've had to do for research, obviously. But yeah, we tell us about Mythic, and because it was going to be put on by the Mervishes. It was
Hmm.
was it a co-production with you guys, or what was that?
It was a presentation.
Oh, okay.
So we were going to produce it. You touched upon something very important, and that is the reason why Duddy Kravitz made a cast album,
Hmm.
because and not many people can afford to make a cast album. We had, Alan Menken, we had support behind making this cast album.
Yeah.
So it's so important, in order for anyone to know about it, the music has to live on. And so I'm not surprised you don't know anything about the Hockey Sweater, or even Prom, or The Louder We Get, and Belle Sur, because how can you?
Yeah.
You can't show the archives. You can't, there's very, very strict rules of us being able to show any content whatsoever, unless, There's options, especially if you're looking at trying to get investments for the show.
Mhm.
But that's why these cast albums are so important, and
Agreed.
that's why Mythic too, when Mythic had its world premiere in London, and they got a cast album out of that.
Nice.
And I can't I know they were also had the support of some producers in New York who all understand this, that you need that in order for it to, I think, continue to have a life. But I saw Mythic at NAMT,
Okay.
actually.
Oh.
So it was one of the 8 NAMT new musicals a couple of years ago. But the composer, Oran Eldor, was also our orchestrator for the hockey sweater.
Okay.
And so, we already had a connection.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting in that audience in New York after Mythic, after the 45 minutes, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I have to, like, I'm getting in line right now.
Yeah.
And the London production happened first. And I'm trying to remember. I don't really know how, I just think I don't know. I was just like, I want to do it. And I guess they had to figure out what was going to, if the London production was going to live or die. I think it basically died.
Okay.
And so we got the opportunity to do the North American premiere of a different Mythic. Same music, same story,
Yeah.
but a completely different version.
Really?
And that was because of our director, Brian Hill, and our choreographer, Avichai Chacham from Israel, and the collaboration with the writers, Oran and Marcus Stevens, who fed us. I think that's the gift. When you do a production, you
Mhm.
kind of have a gift of hindsight and of do-overs and of what would I do better, what would I change. And Brian Hill's the kind of director who's also a writer, and I think he really listened to the vision that we wanted for Mythic, which was this concert feel, this something I'd want to see over and over again.
Yeah.
Um, lots of dancing, and that's what happened. That's what happened, and it was just, I still can't believe it. I still wish I would still go and see it every night if I could.
Well, hopefully, once everything's done and everything opens up again, it will come to Toronto, and I will. Or you know what? Like I said, I can drive to Montreal. It's not that far. I can come see it. And once it is open, the Seagal Center is open. I'm definitely gonna come and check out some of the shows.
That would be great. I think the next step for Mythic is still Toronto.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. So how has the center, Seagal Center, been dealing with the pandemic? Because everything's closed. So
Mhm.
have you pivoted and tried other things, or tell us a little bit about how you've been surviving?
We haven't pivoted, we've pirouette. We've we have been pirouetting now for 9 months. Yeah, we listen. I think we are so lucky that, in a way, the Canadian wage subsidy has been supporting our staff to enable them to work. And yes, it's a result of major losses of revenue, but what it means is that we are working hard back behind the scenes,
Yeah.
figuring out, how to reopen safely, which we've done. Um, and we've done a lot of online content and still throwing that out there. And we just, like, I can't believe this, but this weekend we had 3 live performances that were live streamed,
Nice.
like full on theater production that um, has been in the works for months. It started in October with our co-producing partners, Théâtre du Nouveau Monde. So the show happened in French there. That's like the biggest French theater in Montreal. And with the stellar team, director François Girard, who's known for the red violin.
Mm.
He directs for film, he directs for theater, for opera. And Emmanuel Schwartz, who's this phenomenal actor in French, who never had the opportunity to perform in English, even though he's fully bilingual. So and with a play, the play's called Underneath the Lintel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a play I read again like 4 years ago and just put it on my list as, oh, that was a good read. I love this. And it just again, timing and collaborating with our French colleagues and everything. But we were supposed to have a live audience, a little maybe too ambitious in the summer when everything was kind of looking up, but we ended up going live streamed only. It was so incredible watching, Francois sit there with his, with the screen like a reference, like you're making a movie. So while it was a live show and meant for the 10 of us who were in that room watching, who was worked on the show, it was still lit for the screen. So and the actor had certain boundaries, so he would never go out of frame. So it was staged for the screen.
Yeah.
It's not something I want to do, frankly. I don't think anyone in theater wants to do this, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it because we're still making theater, and we're engaging artists, and we're giving, folks at home a chance to engage with us should they choose to. So that was quite miraculous, and I still can't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Well, that's the thing about the pandemic. It's thrown everything into chaos for live theater, but it's also forced us to learn new skill sets on doing it online and creating these things, and giving us time to work on new projects that if live theater was still going on, we wouldn't maybe not have time to do. So it's congratulations on putting that show on and during these times, and figuring out a way to keep live theater alive during these insane times.
Thank you.
Oh,
We're doing it, and we have a lot of incentive, again, from the government, from our donors, from our staff, from the artists.
Yeah.
And as we can do it safely, like that's like other businesses, they're all operating. Why shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I guess that's not everybody may agree, but I mean, I'm gonna be there.
Yeah.
We'll be there. We'll keep going.
Nice. And that's what we want to hear. That you'll keep going and keep putting on this stuff. So, Lisa, thank you so much for talking to me today, and telling us a little bit about the Seagal Center and what you're doing there, and keeping theater alive in Montreal and Canada, and especially new musicals. So thank you so much for
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Now, before we go, I
Mhm.
always ask my guests 3 questions. There's no right or wrong answer, but there is one wrong answer. So just you might get it wrong. So if you'll indulge me, I'm going to ask 3 questions, and we'll learn a little bit more about you. So question number 1: who is your favorite creator or team when it comes to either music, lyrics, or book? Who or a team that touches you, or you just love, or you've discovered, or anything like that? Do you have one, or no?
Well, I don't think anything will come close to what we experience with Mythic. So if I could replicate, Brian Hill's direction, his spirit of generosity, of collaboration, of leadership, I would, over and over and over again. Avihai, who's the choreographer, I've never worked with talent like that ever in my life. And Oran and Marcus together. Oran is just like a brilliant, gifted musician, and Marcus, a writer and performer. They just have like a deep understanding of both the higher level of art, but also the how do you make it fully accessible and appreciated and accessible. So it's just like, I mean, I can probably go back and list off people like Sondheim or, um, other wonderful directors in
Yeah.
New York, or more female artists. But when I just think of the experience that I had on Mythic,
Mhm.
um, I would want to replicate that over and over again.
Nice. Correct answer. That's 1 point. Very nice. All right. Question number 2. If you could see any Canadian person or story or Canadiana turned into a musical, what would you like to see? You obviously have Kravitz and you got Le Besseur and the hockey sweater. Is there anything in all of time from Canada, people, stories, anything like that? Is there anything that you would go, that'd make a cool musical? I'd really like to see that.
I think Leonard Cohen, um, which is something that we've been trying working on. But I think when we look at Jagged Little Pill,
Mhm.
when you look at American Idiot, when you look at um, you know other musicals that celebrate an artist's work,
Yeah.
I think the Leonard Cohen music would live well on stage.
It it's poetic and yeah, the lyrics would be incredible. So there we go. Correct answer. There really is no wrong answer to that, of course, but correct answer. But this third question.
Oh no.
Yeah, here we go. Audience members eating food in the theater, yes or no?
No.
No.
I'll share. Do we have time if I share one
We do.
experience?
Yep.
So on one of my kids' very first trips to New York, Annie was playing,
Okay.
and we it was I guess I didn't get tickets 6 months in advance, um, but I got tickets in the balcony,
Mhm.
and it was my mom, my two kids, and my sister-in-law. So one, two, three, four people. I feel like there was someone else. There was okay. No, I feel like we were five, and it doesn't matter. I just remember it being like 2 grand. It was just like a fortune to
Oh
see
wow.
this show. But like for me, it was worth it. It was worth it to take my kids to Annie,
Yeah.
and we were sitting in the balcony, and I had like families in front of me walking in and out with popcorn like they were sitting in a movie theater.
Yeah.
The mom in front of me was sitting there on her phone, because the show, I guess, like let her kids watch. She could just be on her phone. And I just like, it was like this, there's something sacred about a live theater experience.
Yeah.
Now, do I think like I have bought mints, mints at and on when I'm in a Broadway show,
Mhm.
and have eaten mints, and I totally love it. I just think there's just like boundaries of what you can eat and what you can't.
Yeah.
So if it's like, I think that's it. I think it's not like salad, sandwich, popcorn time, but what are those mints called? Help me out here.
The Mentos or
No, the green mints.
um
Ugh,
uh
the chocolate mints that they
uh
sell in every show.
yeah, I can't remember. I don't.
Junior mints.
Junior Mint. Okay, Junior Mints. Yes.
Junior mints. Okay. Junior mints is allowed. There you
Okay.
go. That's my take.
You should reach out to them and see if they'll sponsor your the single center. See what they can do. But okay, as a follow up, what's worse, food or cell phones? Yeah, no,
Cell phones is
they're both pretty
like,
awful.
I think like I'm looking into a show right now which will have cell phones integrated into the actual experience. Okay,
But
that's
yeah,
one thing.
that's fine. Yes.
And I like the like embracing, like taking photos of like the curtain call
Mhm.
or the set at the top of the show and sharing it.
Yeah.
I love all that. But I think like seeing for an actor to see the lights of a cell phone glow, and what
Yes.
happens is, like, I can tell you, in our 300 seat theater, the minute somebody just like gets a phone and they even just like check their time,
Yeah.
It snaps you out, and everybody knows that light, and everyone has the thought in their head they want to swear in their head at that person.
Yeah.
It's disruption.
Yep.
And so I hate cell phones. Like, of course.
I love setting people off. Asking these questions is so much fun because it brings out the honest personality in everybody, and I love it. And I totally agree. You get bonus points for
If somebody feels the need to check their phone a bunch of times, they're not into the show.
No, they're not.
So that also makes me sad when I see that happening, because I know they really wish they weren't there.
Yeah, I know. Now, as an executive director, you've got their money, which is nice. They're there and they paid, but
not for profit theaters don't do anything for money. we just lose money. We just lose money. Come on.
Okay, true, but those were 3 correct answers plus that bonus one. So you got 3.5 out of 3. Congratulations. So
great.
So again, thank you so much, Lisa, for spending some time with me and talking about the Seagal Center and yourself. And keep doing what you're doing with the new musicals. I look forward to seeing some more in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So that was the artistic and executive director of the Seagal Center for the Performing Arts, Lisa Rubin. Tune in next week as we'll be talking to another guest or guests about their life, love, and passion that is musical theater. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Yovanov, and I'll see you when I see you. We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button, because a supportive community is a strong community.